Back at Soldier Field, 44 degrees, but it feels a lot colder than that. The wind gusting to 25 miles per hour, rainy and windy. Ray Rhodes, who's a Green Bay Packer team, playing 3 more divisional games on the road, including this one, and this is a critical one because it's the first one up. And Dick Geron, who said Wednesday was an unsettling day when the word came down for Jim Miller that he violated the NFL substance abuse policy for anabolic steroids, and things settled down after that, as they would for Geron, who's a very calm and cool customer. And there's Damon Parker, who, as Matt mentioned, will be one of the backs taking the place of the injured Dorsey Levens. We saw Shane Matthews. Now the Bears won the toss and they elected to defend the goal, and so the Packers will get the ball first. Brett Favre will go to work. Chris Bonio will kick off for Chicago.
Thinking a game like today when the weather's bad and it's cold, both these teams believe that this weather plays in their favor. But the wind is the one thing that you really can't depend on.
And this kick fielded by Damon Parker at about the 10-yard line, and the rookie Parker with a fine return to the 35-yard line, spinning away from the last defender, and a return of 26 yards. So Brett Favre with a very impressive 80-40 record as a starter in his 9 years. Mike Wall again at left tackle for Ross Burba. Mackenzie, Winters, Rivera, and Earl Dotson the right tackle. Basil Mitchell getting the start at running back. Antonio Freeman and Bill Schrader the starting wide receivers, and Tyrone Davis, who has come on, the tight end. As today the Packers have only 2 tight ends, with Jeff Thomason out of action. From the 35, and the pitch to Basil Mitchell, and nothing there. No gain on the play. Jim Flanagan making the play for the Bears. Chicago with a fine defensive front. Van Tuene, Mike Wells, Jim Flanagan, and Brian Robinson. Warwick Holdman, the rookie, has moved into the starting spot at outside linebacker with Barry Mitter and Ricardo McDonald. Terry Cousin, Chris Hudson, Tony Parrish, and Walt Harris make up the Bears secondary. Second down and 10, and the quick flip to Tyrone Davis, and the tight end picks up nearly 5 yards, bringing up 3rd down.
Dick, we said right at the start about Basil Mitchell starting, and then Damon Parker, and then there's some other components of this offense right there. Tyrone Davis, the tight end, who has to step up. The offensive line, that's a little unsettled. There are a lot of question marks on the team, but the one that matters is right here. That's number 4, Brett Favre. With a healthy thumb and not having it hit the last 3 weeks, he's taken his game back to that MVP kind of quarterback. He's got to maintain that if they're going to do anything.
And Corey Bradford, who's been a big threat, number 85, comes in. Pressure on Favre, and the pass intended for Bradford is incomplete. Terry Cousin defending, and that'll bring up 4th down. So the Packers go 3 and out.
Real simple, one of the base plays of the offense. All you're trying to do is just to get the quick slant to get inside and really establish a rhythm.
Glenn Milburn, who last year returned 3 kicks for touchdowns, a former member of the Packers, and Louis Aguiar, who has been nursing a groin injury, will be punting from the 25. And a kick into the wind.
That's why they decided to defend, Dick. And they know, the Bears know this field better than anybody. Obviously, it's their home turf. And so they wanted to play the field position right at the start. And it worked perfectly here.
Only a 14-yard kick by Aguiar, and the Bears will get the ball on their 45-yard line for Shane Matthews, who was 3-2 in his first 5 games before suffering a hamstring pull. Up front, Brockermeyer, Perry, Kreutz, Valeriel, and Big Cat Williams. Curtis Enos, Marcus Robinson, and Bobby Ingram, 2 wide receivers. Now they have 3 in the game, and Enos goes in motion. A quick out to Curtis Conway, who did not play the first time these teams met, and Conway may have a first down inside the 45. Darren Sharper making the tackle for the Packers. Bonnie Holiday, who has played well, Gilbert Brown, Santana Dotson, and Vaughn Booker up front. Jude Waddy, Bernardo Harris, and George Kuntz, the linebackers. Tyrone Williams, Darren Sharper, Leroy Butler, and Mike McKenzie, the rookie, manning the other cornerback spot. It is a first down for the Bears. Matthews to throw again, and he's got plenty of time going for Marcus Robinson, but that ball sails out of bounds, covered by Mike McKenzie.
Speaking to Dick Geron, the one thing that they wanted to have Matthews do was push the ball down the field. They thought that he was a guy who could sustain drives. He has a great grasp of the offense. He understands what defenses are trying to do to them, but he wanted them to see him push the ball vertically down the field to try to make a big play. And Marcus Robinson is a guy who's developed into that kind of player.
2nd down and 10, and here is Curtis Enis with his first carry. It gets about 5 yards on the play. Enis, who was bothered with the stomach flu, has recovered enough. He's tackled by Vaughn Booker, but a good gain on the ground.
I keep waiting for Curtis Enis to have the big, consistent games, because he's got the size, he's got speed, he's coming off of a knee, and I think what he's doing on that knee without a brace is really kind of amazing. And I think all Chicago is waiting for Curtis Enis to be what he's supposed to be.
3rd down and 5, and on a play fake, the pass to Conway is complete for the first down at the 30. So they used 4 wide receivers, and Curtis Conway, who was Shane Matthews' favorite target in the first 5 games of the year, gets the first down for the Bears.
That's an instance where play action is perfect. Antoine Edwards, you're going to watch right inside. They're going to run the play action, and watch Edwards. See how he bites inside? As soon as he bites, he comes back outside, and it's like stealing. Just that one little step is the difference in the play.
Here is Enis trying to go outside, and he is cut down for a loss. And it was George Kuntz and Mike McKenzie who came up to make the play.
Yeah, and they made the tackle. But the guy who made the play is Leroy Butler, because Leroy Butler did the dirty work. He came up and he just took all the interference out and just laid the play to go sideways, and then you make the tackle. Leroy Butler is the heart and soul of that defense, and he's got to be able to make plays consistently, and especially early. They get him involved, that's when he plays his best.
But so far this year, Butler hasn't quite lived up to his past achievements. And here comes pressure on Shane Matthews, and he gets time, and this pass is intercepted off the hands of Ingram, and the Packers get it on the 20-yard line, and Mike McKenzie, the rookie, picks it off for the Packers.
Dick, they came with a blitz. They were in man-to-man. Now it looks like the Bears-Packers like it's supposed to.
Of course. And the weather is like it's supposed to be.
The weather's right on top of it. But they come with a blitz inside, and then the ball is just going to, right there, off his head. McKenzie's there for the pick, and it's going the other way. We'll be right back.
Fox NFL Sunday is brought to you by Southwest Airlines, proud sponsor of the NFL and official airline of the Super Bowl.
Back at Soldier Field, the Packers get it back, and McKenzie with his 4th interception of the year. The Packers lead the NFC with 22 picks coming in. Green Bay at the 20, and the handoff to Basil Mitchell, and Mitchell picking up nearly 5 yards on the play. That was Mike Wells who brought him down.
Basil Mitchell is I guess the best way to describe him would be mature, because the game doesn't get bigger than him. That's a good sign. And he also, his work habits, the way he handles himself, just in talking to Harry Sidney, the offensive backfield coach, he said he has no qualms at all throwing him in there, especially in pass protection, which is the biggest part of the running back's game. Forget anybody can run, but having an understanding of how to protect, that's the important thing.
Undrafted rookie from TCU, splitting and in motion to the right, and the pass goes underneath to William Henderson, and the Packer fullback will get enough for the first down, picking up 8 yards on the play. Ricardo McDonald and the rookie Warwick Holdman made the stop eventually. And there is the second tight end, Lamont Hall, with Jeff Thomason out of action with a knee injury. Lamont Hall, who originally was with Tampa Bay and termed a blue-collar tough tight end by Ray Rhodes, is in there now. Now Basil Mitchell splitting to the left, and he drops the pass wide open.
That was a typical, he took his eyes completely off the ball. That's running before you make the catch, and that's a great job by Favre, just to calm him down, because he just let him know, I understand. They're going to motion him out. He has the whole field. Now watch. He just starts running before he ever has control of the ball, and he knows it.
And thanks for not using the term rookie mistake.
Yeah, right, exactly.
2nd and 10 from the 32. And this time, Basil Mitchell with the carry. Gets to the 37-yard line, short of the first down by about 5 yards. Once again, Mike Wells in the play, and Mitchell goes out of the game. And Damon Parker, the other dimension, the speed dimension, comes in for the Packers.
That's the guy who I like. I like this Damon Parker. I think in a couple of years, when he gets everything down and understands the whole scheme, he's going to make some big plays for these Packers. But he has big playability.
There's Flanagan, the nose tackle. Parker, the second leading rusher for the Packers. And a play fake. And the flip goes to Damon Parker, who loses his footing very close to the first down. And it was Roosevelt Colvin, the other rookie, along with Holdman, who has made an impact for the Bears defensively.
He's got to do a better job of finding our yellow line so he knows where that first down is. You mentioned that he slipped and he had a chance. But, you know, there's one thing of having open field abilities and making big plays and having big playability. And there's another of having the awareness of where you're at on the field and knowing when to square your shoulders and just driving forward.
Damon Parker averaging 6.5 yards per carry in 11 tries coming into this game. And you notice that the Packers are getting young on both sides of the ball now.
Well, they have to.
Short of the first down by less than a yard. And it's 4th down, and right now, for an NFL update, let's return to Chris Myers in Los Angeles. Chris?
All right, thanks, Dick. In Carolina, Matt.
And they're getting off to a good start, Chris, leading 7-0. They have won big in all of their wins this year. So Louis Aguiar will be kicking, and Glenn Milburn back deep. Last time Aguiar punted, it went 14 yards. This is a better kick. And Milburn, handling a tough punt in the wind, calls for the fair catch at the 28. Bears will go on offense when we return. Nothing worse than soggy cheese, and that's what we have today at Soldier Field. No score in the first quarter. The Bears taking the field position going into the win, have slightly better field position than the Packers so far. And Shane Matthews to Marty Booker on that inside screen picks up about 4.
Dick, when you look at these Chicago Bears right now, offensively, now Curtis Conway will go off, but he's a major part. And he's a major reason why this offense is going to continue to grow, especially after they settle their quarterback position. Curtis Conway gives them another deep threat because Marcus Robinson, he's developed into that. Now they have 2, and that will really stretch a defense down the field.
3 tight ends in there, good protection, and Matthews going deep for Marcus Robinson, and it's broken up by Tyrone Williams on a fine defensive play downfield.
That is not on Robinson, that's on Matthews, the quarterback, because he had the whole middle of the field and a guy who could flat out run, and he had the defensive back on his back. The ball then, look at this. Look at the position. The middle of the field's open. You have to throw the ball here. That ball was underthrown. Had he thrown it and allowed him to run to it, he might still be running.
And that's why you have the wind at your back in the first quarter, so you make those throws.
So that's a wasted opportunity right there.
3rd down and 6. 4 wide receivers out of the shotgun. Shane Matthews looking for a receiver. Good coverage. He goes underneath to Curtis Enis, who is buried. And 4th down coming up. The Packers do the job on 3rd down. Antoine Edwards making the stop on Enis.
Consistency is what the Chicago Bears have got to have from under center.
Todd Sauerbrunn will be kicking to Antoine Edwards, one of the 3 rookie cornerbacks. Edwards had a 45-yard punt return against the 49ers last Monday night, the longest of the year for the Packers. And this kick is a line drive kick, and it dies at about the 22. And Edwards, after slipping, tried to get a a couple out of it, and not much.
For all you high school punt returners, never let the ball hit the ground. You don't do that. That's a mistake.
Rainy, windy Sunday in Chicago here in December. The Bears and the Packers, no score. Bears won the initial meeting between these teams at Lambeau Field 14-13. Brett Favre with a first down on the 22. Favre to throw on first down, and the pass completed to Bill Schrader. And Schrader gets about 4 on the play with Tony Parrish defending. Next week, the Detroit Lions and the Panthers and the Packers play next week. Coverage begins at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific. That's the first of our doubleheader. And the Lions and the Buccaneers in the second half of the doubleheader. And it was Tampa Bay going against Detroit the first time around. And it was 33-yard interception, and Chicago suddenly takes the lead.
Beautifully played by Barry Minder. That was exceptional. Did a nice job of getting the drop. He gets back into his zone, and then he can read what Favre does. See this? He's sitting back inside. He's going to try to throw the slant behind him with Schrader. Nice job outside of getting the jam on Schrader, but really it was perfectly done as a linebacker with Minder. Get back, get set, read the quarterback, make your break.
Coming into the game, 8 different Bears had 1 interception, but now Barry Minder has his second. And Chris Bonio will try to give Chicago the 7-0 lead. And we have a whistle, so no play. Penalty marker down. Johnny Greer, the official this afternoon. There he is. So a defensive touchdown, giving the Bears a 7-0, a 6-0 lead to this point.
Dick, you know that's interesting. The talk has been about this Green Bay Packer offense, about just taking the short underneath pass and forcing a defense to be patient. But it also forces the quarterback to have to be patient as well. And that time, Favre wanted to make the play. Never really saw Minder, and he threw it in there and went the other way.
The whistle was blown inadvertently.
So the whistle blown inadvertently. So
that was what was interesting about that picture you just saw right there is Favre came off the snap and looked to his right to try to draw the safety, but Minder is dropping in the zone, so he had dropped to the right, and then once he picked up the eyes looking back to his right, that's when he made his break.
Those are the kind of mistakes that Brett Favre has avoided in the last 2 weeks against Detroit and San Francisco. After throwing that kind of pass, remember, against the Dallas Cowboys and several teams earlier in the year. So here is Bonio again after the inadvertent whistle. The kick is good, and the Bears take a 7-0 lead. And Barry Minder, now with 2, leads the Bears with interceptions this season.
Fox NFL Sunday is brought to you by Lexus and our relentless pursuit of perfection. By Bud Light, for the great taste that won't fill you up and never lets you down, make it a Bud Light. By CDW, computing solutions built for business. And by K-Swiss Athletic Footwear and Apparel.
Back in Chicago, Dick Stockton, Matt Millen, and Pam Oliver, and Barry Minder with his second career interception for a touchdown, giving the Bears a 7-0 lead. Chris Bonio kicking off. And here's Damon Parker returning from the 6-yard line. And Parker is hit at the 29.
And this is what confused Brett Favre. You're going to watch right here. See this? Everybody is man-to-man. They're locked on except inside. He's going to take his zone drop. Back stays inside. He reads those eyes and drops. Favre's anticipating man all the way around. Nobody in the middle. Minter's sitting there. And there's your pick and 6.
Brett Favre now has thrown 16 touchdowns and 16 interceptions on the year. And he had gone 81 pass attempts without throwing it away. 1st and 10 at the 31. the handoff to Damon Parker, and the rookie from Oklahoma, who was taken on the 5th round by the Pack, gets about 3.
Dick, when I look at this game on paper and then you watch the tape, you see, I don't believe that this Green Bay offensive line can whip this defensive front of the Chicago Bears. I think the Chicago Bear defensive front can be more physical and control the line of scrimmage. And so in order to work around that, Favre's going to have to beat him with his arm.
2nd down and 7. Favre getting pressure, and the pass, and it's intercepted again. And brought back by Chris Hudson on the deflection. So Chris Hudson, who had a terrible game on Thanksgiving Day against the Detroit Lions, taking some bad angles, trying to redeem himself with the interception deflected off the hands of Tyrone Davis.
Yeah, this should probably almost go as a fumble, although there was never any. It's a great effort to try to go get it. But he never had control of the ball, just flipped it up, and then Hudson just happened to be in the right position at the right time, because that would have been a completion and a 1st down.
And it was a fine alert play by Brett Favre in the face of pressure up the middle by the Bears. So now Chicago trying to capitalize on yet another interception. Cade McNown is in for what should be his 1 series of the game, the rookie from UCLA, from the 48-yard line, and he gets it out to Curtis Enis, who is wrestled down for a short gain of about 3.
It's Cade McNown, and they're going to go with the hurry up. I kind of like this, because he has a pretty good feel for running this type of offense. And you also have them down right now, so you kick them when they're down. But if he gets a little bit of a hot hand, heck, I'd stay with it.
2nd down and 7, and McNown, the receiver, had slipped, and that was Curtis Conway, and that will bring up 3rd down. McNown, by the way, did start in the previous game at Lambeau Field and was relieved by Jim Miller, and it was Miller who engineered the win over Green Bay and had the starting role, of course, until he was suspended. Third down and 7. Again with the hurry up. And here is McNown looking to run. And McNown may have the 1st down. Anthony Davis upends the rookie. And
I think it's going to be short.
Close to the 1st down, and they signal 4th down. He is short, Matt. You're right, by about a half a yard.
The way this wind is, and they still have it with at the 4-minute mark.
They're going for it.
I'd go for it.
And now a timeout taken by the Bears. They had sent their other tight ends in the game, but now they're going to talk it over. Timeout called by the Bears with just under 4 minutes remaining in the 1st. Bears leading the Packers 7-0, scoring on an interception return for a touchdown by Barry Minder. Now after another interception, Bears, after a timeout, going for it on 4th down and 1. Very impressive, 10 of 16 on 4th down conversions this year. 3 tight ends. Curtis Enis, the running back. And it's a fake. Pressure on McNown. Still on his feet. And the lefty fires it up. And it's tipped by Bernardo Harris, intended for Enis, incomplete, and the Packers will take over on downs. Jude Waddy put the big-time pressure in on McNown.
And they did an excellent job of defending the pass. An excellent, right here, Alonzo Mays, and that's Leroy Butler. That's who they're going to try to drag back across underneath. And also Allred out there is covered. Then Waddy comes in. Now, here's the whole key, right down here, and it's Bernardo Harris, who did a phenomenal job of plastering the receiver. Stayed on him, got to him, and then knocked the ball away.
Better if you're a righty going to that sideline to throw the ball. Basil Mitchell returns to running back, and one of the 2 substitutes for the injured Dorsey Levens gets 1 yard in the play.
Barry Minder does more than just play good pass defense. And this is the way you play good run defense. When you're a linebacker, you see it and you attack it. You'll watch him right in here. He's going to have William Henderson, and watch him, boom, right in the hole. He stuffed him. See, he took him, he even was on the wrong side, but he took Henderson and threw his rear end into the hole and forced it to go outside. All right, that gets me excited when I see good linebacker play like that.
I can see. 2nd down and 9, and the handoff to Basil Mitchell, and a flag goes down. Mitchell gets a couple of yards on the play. Jim Flanagan was there. And a penalty with 3:06 to go. Holding called against the Packers.
This just underscores here the way they're not running the ball well because they're not going to get much push. Marco Rivera, who they caught with the hold. But this offensive line is not going to get a push on this defensive front. Physically, the defensive line of the Chicago Bears, they're stronger than this group.
First 4 possessions for the Packers, 3 and out. And then they got 1 first down and then 2 interceptions, 1 return for a touchdown. 2nd down and 19 following the penalty. And the pass underneath to Basil Mitchell.
Oh, great play.
And the Bears are right there. Chris Hudson once again playing inspired football here in the first quarter.
Why that was a great play was because if he didn't make that tackle, there was a lot of green for him to be able to make that run. They set up the screen, the Hudson right up top. He reads it, now he closes from the inside. And right there, he makes the tackle because Barry Minner also did a great job of holding it from the outside to force it inside.
3rd down and 19. And Corey Bradford matched up with Terry Cousin at the bottom of your picture. Favre stepping up, gets away from trouble, and then he flips it on a lateral to William Henderson. And Henderson, and what had to be a fine ad-lib play by Favre, gets out to the 40, but well short of the first down. And a kicking situation for Green Bay.
Well, remember now, it's 19 yards to go. So they are able to set deep. They try to look down the field, and Bradford's covered. Then you have to wait for Antonio Freeman to find his hole, and Azuma does a nice job of taking that away. Then Favre feels the pressure from Clyde Simmons, but he's a resourceful guy.
So 4th down and Louis Aguiar. Fair catch by Glenn Milburn at the 32. And the Bears get it back. Well, Fox Sports presents Olympic and world champion athletes in the most dynamic head-to-head competition of the season. Skating's elite team up in the 2nd round of the Grand Slam of Skating Pro Super Teams Challenge later today on Fox. And I know you want to see some triple Salchows. We'll see them later today as we look at the North Sea.
That's
no, Lake Michigan.
That's when they that's what they try to send me out to skate on. That when I was a kid. Go ahead, you can skate on that. I was an anchor.
Does walking on water ring true here?
No, it doesn't happen for me, believe me.
Shane Matthews is back in at quarterback for the Bears, and Curtis Enos with a minimal gain on 1st down. So Matthews back in there after Cade McNown had his 1 series, and that has been Dick Geron's way of getting the rookie introduced to the NFL this season.
That doesn't bother me. In fact, I like that because you keep him in it. He has to prepare. He sees what the game conditions are about, and you know he's going to be your future. So you just keep him the whole time, and you just bring him along. It's another way to bring him along slowly, but at least he can chew on something.
How about this formation with 4 wide receivers stacked up to the right, and this pass knocked down by Anthony Davis. It was intended for Bobby Ingram.
It's another missed opportunity. Because, again, with a little bit more patience, that ball, there's a big play behind that. He drops the ball over the linebacker. It's a nice play. Don't take anything away from Davis. That's a nice job of Davis getting back there and getting his hand on the ball. But he had the middle of the field open again and nobody back there.
Again, 3 wide receivers before the Bears had 4 out to the right side. 3rd down and 8. And the handoff to Enos. Some running room for Curtis Enos. 1st down into Packer territory. Jude Waddy on the tackle. And what did they say yesterday, Matt? That no defensive back or linebacker wants to deal with Enos in the open field.
He's a big physical back. And when he hits a block like he does, out of Curtis Conway down the field, did an excellent job. Todd Perry did an excellent job. He was able to get him and spring him. And then You just run over the little guys and wait for your help to come. In that instance, it was Jude Waddy who came from behind.
8 seconds remaining in the first quarter. First down for the Bears. Shane Matthews pass, and it's caught by Marcus Robinson close to the first down as time runs out. And that is the end of the first quarter here at Soldier Field with the score. The Bears 7, the Packers nothing. Fox NFL Sunday will continue right after these messages. Beginning the second quarter here at Soldier Field, the Bears looking to sweep the Packers for the first time since 1991. Leading 7-0 in 1st and 10 at the 35-yard line of Green Bay. And whistle. And
it's not a good day when you have to wait for the cheerleaders.
Not halftime yet, folks. Only the end of the first quarter. Out of the shotgun. It's gone. Matthews, and his pass to Ty Halleck brings it out inside the 30-yard line. Well, an interesting game so far because the Packers haven't played well, but it's still a 7-0 game, man.
Well, I think the biggest thing is the Chicago Bears chose to defend and then get the wind at their back. And really, offensively, they never had an opportunity. Well, they had the opportunity, but they didn't take advantage of the wind at their back. 2 times they had plays down the field, middle of the field. Shane Matthews misfired. I think that's a mistake. Although they are up by 7 points, now the Pack will have that win.
False start, number 78.
Now a 5-yard penalty called against the Bears on a false start. Blake Brockermeyer, the former Carolina Panther. So now the Bears, as Matt mentioned, had several opportunities. Reason why they didn't take the ball to start the game was to get the wind in their favor. Now they're going into the wind. Second down and 8 in the pressure, and the pass caught by Curtis Conway on a quick flip, and Conway weaving his way inside the 15-yard line.
And he fumbled
it at the first down and a lost ball. And let's see if the Bears retain possession of it. It is recovered by Chicago and a first down. And Conway doing a great bit of running after the catch.
Yeah, this is that screen. And what they're going to do, they're just going to bring him back, and then you wait for the troops to come. Great job of the offensive line in the transition going from inside out. The ball was just flopping around there, and Kreutz ended up coming back and getting that ball. But this is a nice bit of running by Conway, but a good job of blocking by the offensive line getting out. I like that screen, and I see that it's also being copied in the league right now.
22-yard gain, and here is Matthews on the play fake on a design rollout. Shane Matthews will go out of bounds inside the 5-yard line, chased by Bernardo Harris, bringing up second down. But the Bears threatening here to take a 2-touchdown lead.
That screenplay that they run, I really like that. And the key is the patience of the offensive line, because you can't get out too quick. Watch Conway. They can come, now look at everybody coming out inside. See, that's the difference. And then you run back underneath your blockers, and you clear the middle of the field out. I like its concept.
Second down and 3, and here is Enos following his blocking. And he'll be short of the first down by 2 yards. Bernardo Harris in to make the play. And so third down and short coming up for the Bears, who could get a first down without getting a touchdown inside the 1.5.
You know, I mentioned earlier about the Green Bay Packer offensive line not really getting much of a push. Well, the Chicago Bear offensive line doesn't get much of a push as well. The guy who can be the best pusher is Big Cat Williams, which is why they're trying to run over there behind number 71. But the inside guys just have not been getting much push at all.
Ninth play of this drive, and the Bears, now the Packers will call a timeout. First timeout of the game by Green Bay.
Fox NFL Sunday is brought to you by the new redesigned Saturn S Series. By Citizen. By Gateway. Connect with us. And by Visa, the preferred card of the NFL. Visa, it's everywhere NFL fans want to be.
Packers called a timeout. They had only 10 men on the field.
Here's that set you're talking about, Dick, with 4 receivers to one side. And then man-to-man on the backside. Look, you got 4 guys over here. 1 up top.
3rd down and 3, and they dropped it. Fumble and recovered by Matthews. So the Bears had a golden chance once again.
See what they're trying to do, Dick? That 4 receiver set outside. They had everybody on one side, then 1 guy over here. And then they were trying to clear the middle of the field, and they'd run right in it because everybody was spread out.
So they wanted a quarterback draw, so to speak.
Exactly. See up here, there's nothing here. You have all your defenders here, and there's nothing in the middle. So the Packers, what they were going to try to do, if you noticed right there, they were going to pinch to the inside with both their defensive tackles. But he dropped the ball.
A pinch was the football in that case. So
Exactly.
4th down, and Chris Boniol will attempt a 24-yard field goal. Todd Sauerbrunn the holder, and this kick is good, and the Bears lead it 10-0. So Boniol, who has struggled this year, reads a bit easier after giving the Bears a 10-point lead. A gloomy Packer fan in the stands here at Soldier Field as the Bears have jumped out to a 10-0 lead. Chris Boniol capping the 9-play drive with a 24-yard field goal. Shane Matthews 3 of 4. They're the return men playing well up. Damon Parker and Basil Mitchell. Normally they're back at about the 5-yard line or the goal line. They're at the 23, and there it is, as anticipated. The wind just knocked that ball down.
That's a free ball.
But it takes the Bear roll.
That's the same thing as if it went, and it's an onside kick. Once it goes past 10 yards, that's a free ball.
And that's another reason why the wind can really play havoc with what goes on. It is recovered by the Packers' Damon Parker.
That's Basil Mitchell is right on top. Now I want you to watch. There's no awareness up front here. See, they just turn and they're trying to find their point. The ball, meanwhile, is kicked over here. And then Damon Parker's right there, and then Basil Mitchell is able to get right on top of it. You have to have awareness on every position in the field. You know, the wedge is trying to go back to get to their point so they can take off. You have to know where the ball is.
So now Brett Favre has the wind at his back. 1st down. Trailing 10-0, and on the run he completes the pass to Antonio Freeman for a minimal gain. Let's take a look at the NFC playoff picture as we get to the critical month of December. Notice that the Packers right now would be out of the playoff scene, but if they win this game, they would jump ahead of the loser of Monday night's game between the Vikings and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So critical game for Green Bay. They'd be back in the picture by just winning the game no matter what happens on Monday night. Second down and 7 at the 27, and the handoff to Basil Mitchell. And once again, the Bears are right there. Barry Minner, you talked about his run defense as well as his ability to defend downfield.
Oh, Barry Minner, he's a good reader. And that's one of the things you don't really talk about a lot of the times. Because Ryan Robinson, the defensive end, he ended up getting washed inside. And Barry Minner read that and just kept on flowing. And of course, he showed up there with a nice little collision at the end. It's a good hit.
And this is a 3-man defensive line right now with Flanagan, the nose tackle. They jump out of that with Colvin, the rookie. 3rd down and 5. 3 wide receivers, and Favre completes the pass to Antonio Freeman. And that's what's worked for the Packers lately, going underneath, and it works there. And a 1st down for Green Bay near midfield and a gain of 20.
Now the key to that is you run everybody off the one side, and then you come back underneath with Antonio Freeman. Anytime you're lined up on the inside position, there's 2 things that can happen. He's either going to cross or he's going to run the out on you. Once he starts running across, you have to rally to the ball. Watch Antonio Freeman finish this right at the end on Hudson.
First down just shy of midfield, and the handoff to Basil Mitchell. And Mitchell diving forward. Good second effort by Mitchell, and he gets 6 yards out of it, with Minter ultimately making the play.
Sounded pretty good too. I could hear a couple of pops going on down there. You know, the guy, when you start talking about not being able to run on this defense, the guy who's the point man for the Chicago Bears is Mike Wells at number 97. He sits down in there, and when he anchors down, he's awful tough to move out of there.
Damon Parker checks in at running back.
Gone.
And the quick pass to Schrader. Bill Schrader gets a few more, fumbles it out of bounds. So it's retained by the Packers. So right now the Packers going with the quick underneath passes. Not good for 12 yards.
He had a chance for a bigger play because the corner fell down outside. Terry Cousins slipped on his back pedal. The ball came out. Schrader was just trying to make sure that he had the catch before he had anything.
Packers do get a first down on the Bear 33.
There's no question that the wind is a factor. Favre's throwing completely different with the wind in his back.
Damon Parker tripped up by Hudson. Otherwise, he might have gone all the way. And another first down and more. And a gain of 22 yards for Parker. And there is the 1-2 punch in the absence of Dorsey Levin.
Well, and there's that big play, the ability that we're talking about with Damon Parker. He does a nice job of setting his blocks up. He has a good feel. He's patient as a runner, where he has an ability to be able to be going seemingly at full speed, but just hesitate a tad and then hit it again.
Remember, he averaged 6.5 yards per carry coming in, gets another opportunity, but this time Mike Wells grabs him from behind.
Mike Wells, a gain of 2.
When you watch Mike Wells inside, like I mentioned before, he's the anchor. He's a big physical guy. They got him out of Detroit, and he does a nice job because you never see much of a push on him. They mostly get a push on him only if they double team him, and then he does a nice job of getting down on the ground, so he creates a pile. The movement guy of the two inside there is Flanagan. He gives you more movement around. Wells is your anchor.
Pretty impressive drive by the Packers. 67 yards. Basil Mitchell checking back in, and he is stuffed immediately. And a big play that time.
Mark Holman was right in his face.
Well, they love Holman and Colvin, the two rookies.
Watch 53, right up here. See the fullback? He's going to take it outside. Now, as that weak side linebacker, you have to have patience. You have to have patience. Actually, if Basil Mitchell could have popped it out the backside, Holman would have been wrong. But he guessed right. Mitchell stayed through. You can't flow too fast. You have to slow it down in there.
3rd down and 5. Ball at the Bears' 6-yard line. This is a big possession and a pass touchdown to Bill Schrader.
Now that was vintage Favre's throw. He had the one-on-one up top, no coverage, only one guy. Either try the fade or the slant. Instead, he came back to the other side where there was coverage, and Schrader just had enough room in between because he sees he has the corner bite outside, and you have to get right in between the safety Parrish, and he put the mustard on it, and it was 6.
There's the 3rd touchdown catch by Schrader. And it's that kind of day. The shirt is out for Brett Favre. Ryan Longwell with the extra point, and it's good. And Matt's making the point that the wind is a factor in this game because Brett Favre just sailed downfield with the wind at the back, and the Packers get on the scoreboard. Brett Favre leading the Packers to a touchdown, now trailing by 3 with 7:07 remaining in the second quarter. 9 plays, 76 yards, and rookie Damon Parker with a 22-yard run, which set it up. So Favre now with 16 touchdown passes, 15 interceptions.
No question that this wind has been a factor in this game, both in the kicking game, the field position, but also the quarterback's throwing the ball. Favre with the wind at his back looked much better. He threw the ball with authority. You can see right there. That was fast. Did an excellent job of coming up with those numbers. But that just bears it out right there. 4 for 4 for 41 and a touch. Now they're going to have to. The ball's blown off the tee here a couple times. They're going to have to use somebody. It'll be Fred Vinson to put his give him his Charlie Brown.
So far, I've actually used the wind a lot better than Shane Matthews did. The Bears scored the touchdown because of the interception. Had a couple of other chances that went by the wayside, but as you pointed out, Shane Matthews didn't take advantage of it as much, and now has to work into the wind. So Vincent holding the ball for Longwell as the rain continues, going laterally with the wind gusts up to 25 miles an hour. Kickoff by Longwell into the end zone. Glenn Milburn on the return for the Bears, and a flag is down. It looked like one of the Packers nearly jarred the ball loose as he was returning it.
Dick, Johnny Greer, his flag was hampered by the wind as well. He tried to throw one, and it got blown back, and it got played. He had to actually run up and pick it up and throw it again forward.
Well, he should take the win next time.
He should take that. Watch Johnny Greer right down here. He sees the hold.
For the return.
He's going to throw it. The wind is blowing. See how it comes back this way. Now he's going to run over to that thing because he knows it shouldn't be there, and he throws it forward again. So it was a two-thrower.
Hey, a cannon would have gotten him maybe 15 yards with this wind. So as a result of the illegal block, Bears starting from the 11-yard line. Edgar Bennett in the lineup and Bobby Ingram in motion. Play fake and the pass incomplete, intended for Bennett, the former Green Bay Packer. Well, the Bears, as you know, using 3 different starting quarterbacks this year. Shane Matthews started the 5th game of the season. 3-2 was his record at the time. Cade McNown, the rookie, worked 2 weeks. Matthews got back and lost. Then McNown comes back in, and Miller relieved him in week 9 in the win over the Packers. And then Jim Miller sailing along with the deep long ball impressively until he was suspended for substance abuse for 4 games by the league. 2nd and 10, inside handoff. Curtis Enos, nothing. And it was Leroy Butler just lurking, waiting to make the play.
Lurking. You know, it's funny you say lurking because that's a defensive call for the strong safety, is the lurk position and how you play that. Now, he's a strong safety, but when you're alert, when you're lurking, this is what you do. You hold the outside. See how he's doing? Very, very well done. And then he got by with a little help from his friends, as John Lennon used to say, because inside Santana Dotson forced it to bounce outside.
There's Leroy Butler.
There's that same thing again. 4 to one side, 1 to the other.
3rd down and 11. Matthews being flushed out of the pocket, and his pass is complete to Milburn and pushed out of bounds by Antoine Edwards. And not only will the Packers have good field position, barring a misplay, but they've got the wind as well now.
Dick, this right here, this whole situation was what all the questions were going to be about early. We're talking about with Gary Croton's offense. What's going to happen when the weather gets bad and the wind starts to blow? And what do you do with an offense that's all spread out and you can't throw?
Todd Sauerbrunn will kick from the goal line, and a line drive kick, and it's fielded at the 40 by Edwards. Antoine Edwards, who is the 1st draft pick by the Packers. Ray Austin makes the stop, but solid field position coming up for Green Bay as they trail the Bears by 3.
27 yards.
Wow. Thank you very much. Jerry Azuma. Montezuma. Todd McBride. Ooh, they buried him.
Packers have the ball inside the Bears 30. Of course, the other question about the Bears offense, what happens when you've seen them enough times on film, 2nd time around? Hand off to Damon Parker, and he is knocked out of bounds. Terry Cousin making the play, and a gain of about a yard. Damon Parker, 4 carries, 28 yards, including the 22-yard run, which set up the Packer touchdown.
Well, the Green Bay Packers right here, they have to take advantage of the same thing that's been hampering the team on the other side of the ball, and that's the wind. They've got to take advantage of the wind right now and use it like they did the last time.
Basil Mitchell, number 28, checks back in. 2nd down and 9. The pass underneath, thrown actually behind Mitchell.
Poorly thrown by Favre.
And that'll bring up 3rd down and long. Favre has already thrown 2 interceptions. One returned for a touchdown by Barry Mitter for 34 yards, but a touchdown pass to Schrader, bringing the Packers back in the game. There's Dorsey Levens, cracked rib, and during the week Ron Wolf said he's going to play despite the cracked rib with the proper protection, but as the week went on it looked like it was going to be a very slight chance.
I think that's one of those old, oh no, he's going to play. Yes, he is. So you get the other team thinking about how they're going to stop Dorsey Levens.
3rd down and 9. And Favre flips it, and it's caught by Freeman. Antonio Freeman. Talk about ad-lib alert play by the quarterback. And the pass is caught. 17-yard gain and a 1st down by Green Bay.
Only Brett Favre is going to make this throw. I mean, because you can see everything starting to collapse inside. He feels the pocket. He gets up there. He sees something. He kind of buys time. And then right as he's going to get hit, he pulls off. And why he does is because he sees Antonio Freeman stay alive. He just keeps on staying with it. Well done by Freeman.
He made himself available that time, and a 1st down at the 11. Basil Mitchell goes in motion. Favre looking for him in the pass, and it is incomplete. And it was Warwick Holman who went downfield defending Mitchell, and the pass is incomplete, bringing up 2nd down.
You know what's kind of interesting about Brett Favre? I'm sure it's been said before, but you know, he's not a fast guy, but he has excellent feet, and he's able to avoid a rush. Even though he's not like Steve Young where he just runs away from you, or guys like that. He just has that certain feel. I know it's really kind of hard to put into words, but he does a nice job of using his feet. And then he gets out of it.
You can be quick, but not fast.
Oh, absolutely. But it's even beyond that. He doesn't have phenomenal quickness. He just has that ability to make you miss.
Timeout called by the Packers on 2nd down and 10. We'll be right back to Soldier Field. Look at the rain and where the wind is taking that rain here at Soldier Field as the Packers calling a timeout. 2nd down and 10 at the 11-yard line. They were trailing 10-0. There is the flag at half-staff for the great Walter Payton, who passed away just days before the first meeting between these two teams in Week 9 in Green Bay. And now the Bears counter with a timeout of their own. Their 2nd, Matt. So back-to-back timeouts called.
Greg Blosch is defensive coordinator for the Chicago Bears. It's interesting talking to him yesterday because it's funny, you know, some defensive coordinators will sit down and they'll tell you this is what we think we can take away, this is what we think we can get. Greg Blosch is more than that. He's like, he gets down into the people and starts, this guy will do this and that guy will do that. He really gets into the whole game. I mean, it was enjoyable sitting down yesterday just talking to him because he had not only the game how he thought it would go, but how the players would go as well.
Colorful terms. It was almost like he was doing a broadcast himself.
Oh, it was fun.
In describing players and plays. So the Bears call a timeout after the Packers do. Back in action, 2nd down and 10. And here comes the blitz. And the quick pass incomplete. Bradford, and flag is down. And Terry Cousin trying to defend Corey Bradford. And a pass interference call against the Bears
on Terry Cousin. Right. Because here's the rule, see. If you get a guy up tight like this, you run the fade up top. You have 5 yards.
Number 21.
I don't know.
Defense. 1st down.
There's Dorsey Levens. He's calling a flag before anybody called it. He saw it immediately.
So it'll be 1st and goal at the 1. Cousin comes off the field. William Henderson joined by Matt Snyder, number 38 at fullback. And the handoff is to Henderson. Bangs off a defender and stop for no gain. That was Sean Harris and Brian Robinson that time.
Nicely done by Brian Robinson because they're just going to try to power to that side. Then they forced him to bounce it. Watch Brian Robinson inside there. He gets him up, and then also done by Wells too. But Brian Robinson came off the blocks very nicely of the tight end, and he should win that battle. There's no way that a tight end should win the battle against a defensive end.
2nd and goal at the 2. And the handoff again to Henderson. And Henderson gets in for the touchdown. The ball crossed the plane, and the Green Bay Packers have taken the lead with 3:43 remaining in the first half.
Just straight power football. They're just going to run behind their best blocker in the offensive line, and that's Earl Dotson. Nice job by Rivera, who is right there. And then it's William Henderson. Watch the surge. Nice job by the Bears of getting underneath. Henderson just squares his shoulders and is able to get in. But Rivera right there gave him that little bit of movement to get him in the end zone.
Ryan Longwell for the extra point, and the kick is good. And the Packers, who were trailing 10-0, now have taken a 14-10 lead, using the win to their advantage in field position. And for William Henderson, his first touchdown of the year, and he's carried the ball more times today than he has all season. Well, tonight at 9, 8 Central, Mulder and Scully encounter a mysterious force with the power to kill. In the blink of an eye, don't miss an all-new episode of The X-Files tonight at 9, 8 Central on Fox.
You know, Dick, to get back to Greg Blasch, we talked about individuals and how he had them down. One concern that he had was Bradford on Terry Cousin, because he was talking about Terry Cousin being a smaller guy and he's aggressive, and he thought that if Favre had that matchup, he'd try to take advantage of it, and he was right, because they get down there in the end zone and he gave the tight coverage. Well, usually when you have tight coverage like that, you try the fade, and then they of course threw the flag on him. And I didn't think that was much of a flag to throw.
Interesting, though, how the Packers and Brett Favre, in talking with him yesterday, relying more and more confidence on Bradford.
It's interesting that they lose Robert Brooks at the start of the season, and then Antonio Freeman gets beat up. And this guy, Corey Bradford, gains a lot of confidence, not only in himself, but also Brett Favre gains confidence in him. And so you come out of it on the other end when you finally get Antonio Freeman back. Now you have another guy you can go to.
Packers in front 14-10, and there is Antonio Freeman, who's been battling all sorts of injuries this year, the groin injury as of late, but feeling a lot more spry than he has lately. There's Glenn Milburn back deep, and Vincent will be holding for Ryan Longwell, and Longwell kicking to Milburn at the goal line. Glenn Milburn out to the 27-yard line, where Damon Parker makes the stop.
Basil Mitchell, who's the starting running back, is still on special teams. He went down there and he thought he was doing okay until somebody just put him flat on his back. He just got waxed, and that's tough duty. You're running down there on kicks, and then you also, you have to be the guy. Watch number 28 right in here. And that's the old Packer, Edgar Bennett. Edgar just introduced him to the field.
From the 27, Curtis Enos. Driven back, but not before he gets to the 30-yard line with under 3.5 minutes to go in the first half. Bernardo Harris making the tackle there. Packers are using both Parker and Mitchell on special teams, despite the fact that they're seeing a lot of action in the offensive backfield. And then you see how the wind is affecting the game. Whoever has the wind gaining the most yards. That's been the rule today.
That's the Stockton rule.
2nd and 7, and the quick flip out to Ingram, who goes out of bounds, bringing up 3rd down and about 4.5.
Without a real physical offensive line, Chicago Bears, their running game, they don't really get much of a push. And so in this kind of offense, when you have people spread all the time and you're moving them, and they're moving different personnel packages, you really have to have an offensive line that can be a little bit more dominating than what they have right now.
Bears are 2 for 6 on 3rd down conversions. Enos goes right, and the pass to Conway, and he's got the first down. Curtis Conway with the first down, and that was Mike McKenzie on the stop. Conway, by the way, was tied for the NFL lead in receptions the first 5 weeks when Shane Matthews was his quarterback.
Oh, he's a player. He is a real player. He'll be more effective now that Marcus Robinson is taken off. He's not 100% healthy either. But with him back, and now you have Robinson, and now Ingram can work the underneath.
Enos trying to go outside and gets to the 41.
The reason I said that earlier about the running game with this Bears is because Curtis Enos is a north-south guy. And when he's running sideways like that, he's a lot less effective. But you have to run north and south with an offensive line that can get some push.
Coming up on the Visa halftime report, Chris Myers, Marv Levy, Jackie Slater, and Chris Spielman will have scores and highlights from around the league, and our Fox Sports ticker will have up to the second stats. That's all coming up on the Visa halftime report. 2-minute warning here at Soldier Field. It'll be 2nd down and 8 upcoming for the Bears on their 41. Matthews with time goes underneath to Enos, and Enos short of the first down by a yard. Right now, let's go down to Pam Oliver, who's with Dorsey Levin.
Okay, thanks a lot, Dick. Dorsey, your boys have done a nice job getting back in this game. Talk to me about your cracked rib. How is it at this point?
It's real tender right now. You know, I was hoping to play this week. I'm usually a fast healer, but I didn't heal as fast as I'd like, so I'm shooting for next week.
How about the young guys, your young replacement, the job you think they're doing?
I think they're doing a great job. They're out there making plays on offense and they're making plays on special teams. So I think they're doing a tremendous job.
Playing with a lot of poise. Thanks, Dorsey. Let's go back up to Dick.
All right, Pam, thank you very much. And it's Alonzo Mays, the tight end, with his first chance, dropping the ball on what would have been a first down on a 3rd down situation. And so the Packers are going to get the wind to their advantage again.
And that's tough because this is a good decision and a well-thrown ball by Matthews, and it just, you got to make that catch. Bears have never really had themselves, since maybe all the way back to Ditka, really. They really had themselves a tight end who could be a reliable guy, play in and play out.
He was good enough, though, so they weren't going to get a good tight end for 20 years. Todd Sauerbrunn kicking, and the ball is loose, and the Packers have it.
6 points, boys.
Yes, it is.
McKenzie is going to score.
McKenzie goes in for the score. Keith McKenzie on the lapse. The turnover by Sauerbrunn, and the Packers get a gift score.
Unbelievable.
45-yard touchdown. With 1:09 to go in the first half.
Snap is fine. He just, the whole play was made by Crawford. Crawford beat the block and was going to block the kick. And so Sauerbrunn just didn't kick it and let it drop. And then McKenzie picked it up, and it's going the other way.
Here's Ryan Longwell, and the extra point is good. So after spotting the Bears 10 points, the Packers have taken a 21-10 lead. Here's a closer look in the rain.
Well, here's the snap is perfect. Everything's fine. Now watch Crawford right there. See, he was going to block the kick. So Sauerbrunn just let it drop. And then Crawford comes back and gets the block, and McKenzie gets the glory.
Keith McKenzie. So we have had 2 defensive players scoring touchdowns, and there is the reaction on the sideline. Steve Ortmeyer, the special teams coach, gets a little wiggle from Brett Favre.
He got a little, what the heck is that going on here on the sideline?
But there it is, Crawford and McKenzie. McKenzie, by the way, is a defensive back who wears number 45, who plays special teams, but last week against the 49ers actually caught a pass in the muck in San Francisco. And that, by the way, for McKenzie was his 3rd career touchdown, and a miserable play for Sauerbrunn on a miserable afternoon.
Well, Sauerbrunn can't blame anybody on that one, other than it was his own decision to not kick it. If he's going to kick anything, he should have kicked the guy who didn't block Crawford, because Crawford made the whole play. That's going to turn around. Everybody's going to say, boy, McKenzie scored a touchdown, but Crawford, that's a job well done.
Well, now the Bears getting another chance. There is Milburn, who's the deep man, and Vincent holding ball being blown off the tee by the wind. Here is Milburn trying to go outside, picking his way, and Milburn ultimately gets close to the 35-yard line with 1 minute and 2 seconds remaining in the first half. Lamont Hall making the tackle. Well, next week the Detroit Lions go against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the return match. Greg Hill with 123 rushing yards in the first meeting, with Detroit winning 20-3. Eric Sire started at quarterback, and the Bucs offense went to its 2nd straight game without a touchdown. Sean King, who is starting tomorrow night in his first NFL start, with a good job last week against Seattle. Shane Matthews with the pass, and Ingram with the catch. And Bobby Ingram trying to outrace Jude Waddy. And finally, Ingram is brought down at the 10-yard line on a huge play, 55 yards, and the Bears are back in business.
That's a great job of Jude Waddy, but a poor job of missing the tackle. That's a nice job right here by Ingram. Catches a ball, and then watch Darren Sharper, who misses yet another tackle and turns it into a big one. But Jude Waddy just flat ran him down from behind.
And there's the pass thrown underneath for a short gain with the clock running and 22 seconds to go, and the Bears will use up their last timeout.
Dick, you know what the most important thing about tackling is? Get him down. It doesn't matter how you do it. It doesn't make a bit of difference if you, whatever you do, you just have to tackle him. That's a nice throw right here. It kind of threads the needle. And then Ingram is off to the races. It should have been tackled right there. No big deal, but then because of the miss, now Jude Waddy ends up, he makes sure that he gets it, but Jude Waddy can flat out run.
You know, Darren Sharper missing a lot of tackles, and this week in the Bears practice, Antoine Edwards was working at safety, and It is not out of the realm of possibility. You may see Edwards eventually in that free safety spot, because Sharper has missed some tackles this year.
He's also taken some bad angles as well. And those things are going to happen occasionally, but when they start having regularity, that's when other guys start showing up in your position.
Bears are out of timeouts with 22 seconds to go in the half. Second and goal at the 5. Matthews looking for a receiver, and he throws this one out of the end zone on purpose. Good pressure that time by Santana Dotson.
He had a chance to throw that underneath screen, and he decided not to do it. You have Wet Knight right underneath. He was really going to try to screen the whole thing and try to bring it back underneath to Robinson. And then Conway was in the end zone, and that's where he wanted to go. That's where he wanted to go first. But the problem was he wasn't in the end zone, and he knows he has no time, so he kept on staying alive. And then Ingram, of course, he tries to stay alive, goes to the back, and they throw it out the end zone.
So third and goal from the 5. Here is Matthews. And Matthews flips it again, and the closest to it was Marcus Robinson. So it is fourth down, and the Bears will try to get 3 out of it as Pat Williams and McKenzie jaw with 10 seconds remaining. So once again, Matt, Bears with an opportunity to get a touchdown. They'll have to try to settle for 3 if they can.
On the second down, that was when he had 22 seconds. He could have thrown underneath and let him try to run. He wanted to try to throw it into the end zone because of the clock, but he still would have had enough time to kill it.
This will be a 23-yard attempt into the wind. No easy task for Chris Bonio.
Anthony Davis, the linebacker, ran on halfway on and then turned around and ran out again.
Packers call a timeout. So each team has used its allotment here in the first half.
He realizes that Davis should be. They're calling for him. See these guys. So he runs on. Now he realizes, uh-oh, they're going to kick this thing. And he turns around and he gets off, but not before the Pack took the 30-second timeout.
10 seconds remaining in the half, and you'd have to say this has been a game of the wind, and who's been able to take advantage of it most, and opportunities. And the Bears have fallen just short, whether they've been into the wind or the wind at their backs. Ingram made the big play to set this up, a 23-yard field goal attempt.
And nothing's a given with this wind, and it's blowing right now.
Chris Bonio, and Bonio's kick is good. Well done by Bonio with 7 seconds to go. The Bears get 3 back and now trail the Packers by a score of 21-13. So Chris Bonio with his second 3-pointer of the game.
They're going to jump all over Ingram for getting caught from behind from a linebacker, Jude Waddy, because, you know, really Ingram should have scored. I mean, you're a wide receiver, and then you got to kick another gear.
But Matt, he's the possession receiver on this team.
Yeah, he's a possession receiver, but he's got to be able to outrun a linebacker. Look at this guy's struggling. Look at it. He's having a tough time holding up that Bear flag. Watch Bobby Ingram. Here's Jude Waddy. He leaves him behind right there. There's the catch. Now Waddy's back here someplace. There's the miss, and now it turns into a sprint. And this is that's one. He made up 3 yards on that thing.
And a cloud of dust.
That Jude Waddy can scoop. Jude Waddy, I like him. I think he's not a big guy. He's only about 215 pounds
and
or so.
gain weight, right? Ray Rhodes was
They
telling
say
me.
he eats like a horse. His metabolism's high. But what I like about him is he's just got good athletic ability. He's pretty tough. He's not a real big guy, but he's not afraid to run in and get physical. He used to wrestle in high school. He's got himself good hips. Anytime I see a guy who was a wrestler, I know he's pretty much a tough guy.
And he gets a mention on the air.
Oh, absolutely.
And here is the short kick, and it's picked up by Basil Mitchell. And Mitchell's still going with it, and the time is going to run out.
You know, that's funny, Dick. Right there, just that fumble and that extra effort took the ball out of Favre's hands for one last play.
Favre, I think, happy to go into the locker room with the ski hat on.
I bet Favre would like to have himself one more shot with this wind at his back. He'd take it into the end zone.
That is the end of the first half here at Soldier Field with the score. The Packers 21 and the Bears 13. Stay tuned for the Visa Halftime Report with Chris Myers, Marv Levy, Jackie Slater, and Chris Spielman after these messages and a word from your local Fox station.
The Visa Halftime Report is brought to you by Visa. It's everywhere NFL fans want to be.
And welcome to the Visa Halftime Report. Chris Myers in for James Brown, the NFL This Morning crew of Fox Sports Net sitting in for JB and the guys on the road at the Silverdome. Let's get you caught up to date on all the games, including the one you're watching. After the 10-0 deficit, Brett Favre has brought the Packers back with a touchdown pass, has a couple of interceptions in this game. It's 21-13 Green Bay. The Lions get a punt return for newly signed Desmond Howard, and Gus Frerotte a touchdown toss against his former team. It's 17-10 as they near halftime. Kurt Warner has 3 touchdown passes. Remember, if the Rams win, it's their first division title since 1985. They close out the West. Chris Chandler a couple of touchdown passes. The Saints are trailing the Falcons as they are 1 second away from the half. It's 21-6. Jeff Blake, a couple of scoring tosses. He's a free agent after this season and has said he wouldn't mind playing for San Francisco next year. They could use him today. It's 27-10 at halftime. Edgerrin James over 100 yards. He has scored twice. Dan Marino has looked just okay down in Miami as the Colts lead the big AFC East battle 24-10 as they go to the third quarter. The battle for New York, although they're playing in New Jersey, the Giants up on the Jets 24, now 27-7 at halftime. Jason Sehorn with a broken bone and out of that contest. Eddie George scored late, but the Ravens have a 17-11 lead over Tennessee. Marv, let's talk about the Chicago defense, which did a job already when they beat the Packers earlier this year, and they were up in this one on the Barry Minter run back of an interception.
Well, they were up early, but I'll tell you the most important factor, weather factor there is in football is the wind, and there's a lot of wind today in Soldier Field in this oldest rivalry. Whoever has it in the fourth quarter, if it's close, is going to win the game.
Well, the thing that jumps out at me, guys, is right now Dorsey Levin's absence is really being missed. Brett Favre, though he's having a pretty good day throwing the ball around, he has thrown 2 interceptions, and that, in my opinion, is because there's no one there playing the run, guys.
Well, I like the resolve of Brett Favre, and the thing to watch for is watch how Green Bay is playing today. They're playing for their playoff lives, and they're fighting the Bears well in Chicago.
And again, it was Shane Matthews because Jim Miller is serving the suspension, although Cade McNown got into the game. We'll keep you updated on all the other games throughout the day. Right now, let's go back to Matt Millen and Dick Stockton standing by in Chicago for the second half of the Bears and Packers. Right after the break, they'll take you back to the game.
The 3 touchdowns out of it today. And right now, with the score 21-13 in favor of the Packers, let's take a look at the halftime statistics.
I think, first of all, you have to say that most of the yards here, these total yards, are taken when the wind has been at their back. Now, the Bears had the one big play by Ingram on the missed tackle, and that was into the wind. But the team that's had the wind in this game has got the scores. And then the turnovers, of course, they're evened up now. Favre threw the first one. That was a touchdown. It ended up in 7 points. And then the other turnover also for the Green Bay Packers, McKinney fumble recovery, and that turns into 7 points.
Interesting, though, as you look at Favre's numbers, that his 2 interceptions were thrown into the wind. So he didn't really do that well into the wind. And the Bears, you wonder whether they could have capitalized and scored touchdowns instead of field goals on 2 of those instances. There is Shane Matthews, who has completed 13 of 21 and has thrown 1 interception.
You see what was happening right now? The Bears ran down as if they were going to get the they were going to go into the wind. And now they switched it around because the Packers are doing the right thing. The Packers are taking the ball. They want to receive the ball. That's what they have to do. And so what happens is that means Chicago has to take the wind in the third quarter, because you can't do it the other way, or you end up giving two things away. You end up giving them the wind and the ball at the start of the third. You can't do that.
And what it means too is that in the fourth quarter the Packers will have the wind at their backs.
Right.
And Brett Favre is known to pull out the rabbit out of his hat on more than a couple of occasions.
Now, of course, Shane Matthews had two opportunities with the wind at his back in the first quarter. Remember, Marcus Robinson had the middle of the field, the defender at his back, and nothing in front of him, and they underthrew the ball. They threw it behind him. And Tyrone Williams knocked that ball away. That was clearly a wasted opportunity.
So the Packers will get the ball first. Boniol, who has kicked 2 field goals, will be kicking off to Damon Parker and Basil Mitchell. So the Packers going into the wind for the third quarter. Mitchell bobbles the kickoff and returns it out to the 23.
Basil Mitchell.
So Brett Favre
from the 9-yard line.
leading the Packers.
Brought down by Ryan Wetnight.
There's a Chicago Bear getting up nice and slow, or not getting up at all.
And it's Holdman, the very fine rookie from Texas A&M, taken on the 4th round.
Well, that's...
I wonder if it was helmet on helmet inadvertently there.
What it was life in the National Football League.
Right.
You know, I had a chance to sit down and talk to Steve Young a few weeks ago when he's talking about all these concussions. And what they define as a concussion, I must have had 1,000 of them. I mean, it just happens. You're going to play this game, you're going to get your bell rung.
Timeout.
Fox NFL Sunday is brought to you by Ford F-Series. The best-selling trucks are built Ford tough.
Back here at Soldier Field, Warwick Holdman appears to be all right on the sideline, but Sean Harris has moved into the middle linebacking position. Barry Minner playing on the outside. First down for the Packers at the 23. Damon Parker split to the right, and the quick to Bill Schrader. And Schrader, who was tackled quickly by Walt Harris, and a gain of about 4.
That's smart football. And you're going to have the Walt Harris giving you that much cushion. That's as good as a nice run. And in fact, in this type offense, that's exactly what they used to do. Just throw the... It started, of course, with Bill Walsh in San Francisco. They take the short pass, and you set up 2nd and 5, 2nd and 6. That's as good as a run.
The original West Coast offense.
Yes.
Go! 2nd down and 6. Parker. And a great play made by Sean Harris, who was a starter earlier in the year, got hurt, and ultimately lost his starting role, but makes the play there.
Excellent job. It's a loss of 2, and what he did is he just ran through. Anytime you can get anytime you get him running sideways, you just take your angle and run through the interference. Pick your way. Perfectly done. That's textbook linebacker play by Harris.
Meanwhile, Warwick Holdman has come back in the game, so Sean Harris does the job, goes to the bench. There is Holdman, and 3rd and 8 coming up for the Packers. Just getting the play off in time. Here's William Henderson out of the backfield. Henderson stopped at the 30-yard line, and will bring up 4th down for Green Bay. Barry Minter in on the play.
Wind is really kicking up right now, and Favre is knowing that he's up by 8 points. He's just going to be patient, know the wind is in his face, just dump it back down underneath.
Aguiar's longest kick, 30 yards, and that has been into the wind. Glenn Milburn back for the Bears. Not only is the wind kicked up, the rain has gotten harder, and the fair catch called for by Milburn at the 42. Well, it's imperative for Shane Matthews to get something going here in the third with the wind at his back. We'll be right back. Bears doing everything they can to stay warm, and this could be a video.
This is the worst part. See, when you come in the locker room, you go in the locker room, you get warmed up. Then you come back outside, and it's your first time on the field, and all of a sudden, the cape's on the sideline, and it's cold out there.
1st and 10 at the 41-yard line after the 28-yard kick by Aguiar. 4 wide receivers, and Enos, the running back. And Enos up the middle and gets about 9 yards on the play. Enos, 8 carries, 27 yards in the first half.
Well, we talked about Matthews having to push the ball down the field. You can look right here, and you're passing by distance. Look here, over 10 yards. He's 1 for 4. Other than that, it's 12 out of 17. He really has not pushed the ball down the field. Part of that is the fact that the whole second quarter he was looking into the wind. You can't really take that chance.
Conway, his leading target with 4 catches. 2nd down and 2, and brought down by Keith McKenzie. So a sack and a touchdown for Keith McKenzie, and that's the first time for either team to get to the other quarterback. A loss of 8.
See, what they want is they want McKenzie to come down in hard, but he sees it right away. See, he never bites at all, and he never gives Matthews the chance for this play to develop, because he sees it after 1 step, then gets right upfield. What he's looking for is a crossing receiver behind him, and in that case it was Curtis Conway, but he never had a chance to look at him.
3rd down and 10. 5 wide receivers in the game against a 3-man rush. Shane Matthews going underneath to Marcus Robinson, and close to the first down. He gets into Green Bay territory, and depending where they spot the ball, Mike McKenzie was there, and Matthews indicates it's a first down.
Looks like a first to me.
Meanwhile, Johnny Greer says, hold it a minute, we're going to measure this one.
Maybe it isn't a first now that I look at it again. It looked like Robinson got further than that mark. Then they put the ball down. It looked like, now it looks like they're short.
Look at that. Right on the mark, first down by the hair of his chinny chin chin.
Marcus Robinson's interesting. You can see he's really developed, and he's really become a legitimate player, especially a down the field player. And people forget how big he is. He's 6'4", and he can run. He's faster than he looks because of the long strider.
Well, the Bears get it going again. First down at the 49 of Green Bay, and here's Curtis Enos with power running. First down, but a flag comes down after the play. And Enos getting inside the 40, tackled by Antoine Edwards, but there is a penalty. And it will go against the Bears.
Oh,
no.
Tripping against the Green Bay Packers.
And I said that because the Bears were going way back to the 45-yard line.
We have tripping, number 71, defense. We're going to last 10 yards from the end of the run. First down.
Santana Dotson.
Right in the middle of your screen. He has Ole Krutz, but he has the awareness, and that's... well, I don't know, you'd call that, everybody was kung fu fighting.
Hey, that's a single-eyed buy.
Yeah, right, not for me.
First down at the 29. Here is Enos. And Enos pounding inside the 25, and another flag comes down. So I don't know how far back the Bears are going to walk here, but we'll wait for Johnny Greer. Keith McKenzie made the tackle on Enos.
Face mask, number 50.
Anthony Davis, 2 straight penalties resulting in first downs against the Packer defense.
Actually, I didn't think much of it as a trip for Santana Dotson. They saw the leg come out there, so they threw it, but I mean, he certainly didn't trip anything. And this one's on the other side. You can see the hand right there, and that's a good call.
Well, Packer penalties are keeping the Bears in business. Here's Shane Matthews. Conway double covered in the end zone, and a flag comes down as Matthews runs out of bounds at the 20.
He had that same formation we were talking about earlier when they go 4 receivers to one side.
This time tripping against the Bears.
And so this time, he'd been going over to that 4. See, here's the 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 over here, 1 over here.
Tripping, number 71, offense.
This is what he wanted. He tried to get the one-on-one with Conway and McKenzie, with Vincent over the top. But McKenzie jumped his coverage and took it away, and then it forced him to come back. And he actually had somebody on the 4 receiver side sitting underneath, but he decided to pull off of him. And here comes the same thing again. 4 receivers to one side, 1 down here.
1st and 20 after the penalty, and the quick to Enos, and it's incomplete. It is ruled a pass, and it's dropped by Curtis Enos, bringing up 2nd and 20.
Dick, you know the interesting thing, for me it's interesting when I look at the way the Bears run their offense, you can't really settle in and zero in on each position. What Croton has done with his offense is he's made all the receivers learn all the positions. And so you don't play X, Z, Y, or the U. You just play receiver. And then they put you wherever he wants you to be.
Former head coach at Louisiana Tech, Gary Croton. Here is a handoff on 2nd and nearly a mile, and Enos doesn't get much. And right now, for an NFL update, let's return to Chris Myers. And how about that for a pickup? And Bobby Ross said he'd use him today, and he has, and he's paid dividends. Green Bay a game behind Detroit, as well as Minnesota and Tampa Bay. They play tomorrow night. Meanwhile, 3rd down and 17, and down goes Matthews. Keith McKenzie with his 2nd sack of the game, and a loss that time of 8 yards.
Dick, that was great coverage by the Green Bay Packers, because clearly he had time to be able to make the throw. Now, remember that he had 18 yards to go, but he was looking to the top side with Ingram, and the coverage was there. Nothing there. Williams flashes a receiver. Then he can come back and look for Robinson down the field, but McKenzie has him, and it's taken away. He's looking up top. The next one would have been Conway. Again, nothing there. Now you have to buy time, and by that time, it's over.
And a 51-yard field goal attempt with the wind at his back, attempted by Chris Bonio, and this kick is going to be well short and well right.
And also now that's good field position for the Green Bay Packers.
And if you're going to go into the wind, you might as well get good field position. Here's the miss. It never had a chance.
Just missed it. Not enough leg.
And it is still Green Bay 21, Chicago 13. There's Chris Bonio going for shelter after missing the 51-yard field goal, the 14th miss by Bears kickers leading the league. So Matt mentioned Packers get good field position, though they go into the wind. They're on their own 41. Basil Mitchell runs hard into the linebacker Warwick Holdman. Doubleheader next week on Fox, beginning with the pregame show at 12 noon and 9 Pacific. The Carolina Panthers travel to Lambeau against the Green Bay Packers. And in the second half of our doubleheader, the Lions and the Buccaneers in the rematch. The Lions winning the first, going away.
You know, before they can get to the Lions, they got themselves a tough one tomorrow night on Monday night. Down there, first start for Sean King against the Minnesota offense that can score a lot of points.
2nd down and 5, and the handoff to Mitchell. And Mitchell trying to lunge forwards, short of the first down by a couple. Ricardo McDonald.
Dick, lost in this whole thing. We forgot to mention the fact that he tried that field goal to give the field position. Instead of punting and holding them down and try to get better field position for your next possession, he decided to kick it. And right now in his 3rd down, this will bear out whether that was a good decision.
But you wonder anyway, in the rain and the way the winds was swirling, what the percentage was for Bonio.
Maybe he thought that the wind was going to help him in this direction.
3rd down and 2, and they fake, and the pass caught for the first down by Antonio Freeman, and a big 3rd down play, and I think that play answered your question. First down on the 39 of Chicago.
Yeah, because maybe Dick Duran wasn't counting on was that Brett Favre doesn't even think twice for a throw like this. First of all, you're going to give him the cushion. That means you want your defensive back to drive that throw. But when the field is like this and it's not great footing, especially with all the rain we've had through the game, you give that much of a cushion, you're not going to get much of a drive when Favre is putting the mustard on.
3 for 4 and 3 first downs in 3rd down passing situations. Packers with a first down and a fake and a handoff to Basil Mitchell. And Mitchell with a first down inside the 25. McDonald and Hudson on the tackle. So the two rookies doing quite a job in place of Dorsey Levens today.
And I think Basil Mitchell, the more this game goes on, he's feeling more comfortable. And he's getting a feel. And it looks like he's that same kind of patient runner. You know, he runs with feel. And I like that. What I like most about him here as I'm watching him, this is only one time, is that he finishes his runs. Not afraid to drop his shoulder or his head and run through a guy.
That was a 15-yard gain. Packers at the 23, and here's Mitchell. And it takes 4 blue shirts to bring him down after a gain of about 3. Flanagan and Minter, among others.
See this up here? They're winning this third quarter right now. They're down to the 5.5-minute mark. Bears haven't been able to do anything with the wind at their back, which is, as we mentioned earlier, has been a major factor here in this game. They're eating up the clock. They're setting up third and short. The Packers are doing everything they want to do right now.
You can absolutely right. You can see the way this game is going with the Packers actually dominating going into the wind in the third quarter and leading by 8.
Well, the key to the whole thing is they've had third and shorts.
Mitchell in motion to the right. Bob looks left and his pass to Freeman.
Good throw,
and Cousin defending on the play.
And threw a fade behind Cousin. Cousin, of course, complaining that Antonio Freeman pushed off, but the ball was thrown behind for Freeman. Had to get his body turned around and had a chance at this reception. Watch him. There's the push that he would complain about, but this ball should have been caught. That's a tough catch for Freeman, but he's got to make that catch. You know, Antonio Freeman was never he doesn't have great hands. He's a good receiver. He doesn't have great hands. He's a body catcher. He likes to get the ball and cradle it in against his pad.
Pretty even play selection for the Packers. Face a 3rd and 7. Good protection this time for Favre, and Clyde Simmons from behind brings him down. Here's a guy at 36 years of age, was tied for the league in sacks after the first 4 games of the year and comes up empty. No sacks in the last 8, and now he's back in it with a loss of 7.
Well, he had decent time. There was the underneath, but Hudson took that away. Then he had Bradford outside, and again, coverage was there. No place to throw. So he bought some extra time and tried to find Schrader underneath. But again, nothing's there. You can see we document the same thing with his eyes. All of those things are for naught, and he gets sacked.
Louis Aguiar will kick it, and Milburn is back deep, and this kick wobbles its way, and look at that, out of bounds, and Aguiar couldn't have asked for a better situation as it goes out of bounds inside the 5-yard line, where the Bears will get the ball when we come back.
Fox NFL Sunday is brought to you by Southwest Airlines, proud sponsor of the NFL and official airline of the Super Bowl. By Jordan. By E-Trade, the #1 place to invest online. And by Volkswagen. On the road of life, there are passengers and there are drivers.
Back here in the rain and wind, the good news, the Bears have the wind at their backs. The bad news, they've got to go 96 yards. Shane Matthews, nowhere to go.
Went the wrong way.
And a mix-up as Curtis Enos went left, and he should have stayed.
Shane Matthews. Looked like Shane Matthews turned the wrong way. Here's the guys who are going to tell you what the deal is. With the offensive line up, the Curtis Enos went the wrong way. Because the offensive line went right, and the quarterback went right, and the running back went left.
Second down and 11. Bears not done well. They haven't scored at all inside their 10 when they've started drive this year. And there's a one-hopper intended for Ryan Wetnight, and that'll bring up 3rd down and 11.
Packer defensive backs are playing pretty well. They're taking away anything down the field, and they're forcing them to come off. So you have to be patient here as a Chicago Bear. You have to be able to be patient and work your way. Don't try it. And he hasn't been pushing the ball down the field anyway. He's got to see more of the field, I believe.
So it's 3rd and 11. 3:48 to go in the third quarter out of the end zone. And here is Enos trying to get some running room, but Antoine Edwards trips him up, and it's 4th down. So the Packers will get the ball, provided there are no turnovers, in good field position. And Todd Sauerbrunn will have to kick from the end zone. Sauerbrunn has had his problems earlier, fumbling a punt attempt.
He's goofy. I don't believe he's going to be long for the Chicago Bear organization. He's been goofy from the day he got here.
Exactly. And a high draft pick.
Yeah.
Sauerbrunn with a line drive kick. Edwards, and this is a beauty for the Bears. Edwards is going to field it, and it's a loose ball. And it's still a scramble, and the Bears get it. A big break for Chicago. And Jerry Azuma forced the fumble, and Frankie Smith recovers it on the punt from deep in the end zone by Todd Sauerbrunn.
So they needed to have a big play, and he comes in the kicking game. Not a real good kick, but it blows, and it just takes a nice bounce. Edwards, right there, Azuma does a great job. Just knocking that ball away, and then Frankie Smith is able to finish it off.
Antoine Edwards not content to just fall on it, try to run with it. And now Shane Matthews on 1st down completes the pass to Marcus Robinson. And Robinson is hit in a very minimal gain for the Bears on 1st down. They got to separate more. McKenzie has been right in the middle of it.
He's been playing well.
Yes, Keith has.
Both McKenzies have played well here today. Keith McKenzie and Mike McKenzie.
Well, remember the monsoon game at Soldier Field a few years ago on a Monday night between these teams. Horrific rain and wind then. 2nd down and 7. Curtis Enis gets hit once and dives inside the 10-yard line, close to a 1st down, and it was McKenzie, Mike, making the play.
Well, speaking of McKenzie, here's Keith. After the play by Crawford, he's right there to pick that one up and go in for 6. Then, of course, the sack on Matthews, great awareness. And then from the other end, another sack. And those are just the big plays. He's made other plays where his teammates have made the tackle, and he's made the plays.
So a big day for McKenzie, who's on the sideline. His 3rd and 1 coming up for the Bears. They're on the 9, and here is Enis, 1st down and close to the goal line. Curtis Enis, and that's the kind of back you want to have on this kind of a day in short yardage. 1st and goal coming up for the Bears, with Darren Sharper making the stop. What a difference a week makes.
Just keep pounding him. I actually believe with Curtis Enis, if they would just line up and keep on pounding him inside, he'd make that offensive line better, and he'd be more effective.
1 minute remaining in the 3rd quarter. 1 minute with the wind. Here is Enis diving close to the goal line. No signal.
That's where the ball is when his knee hits, and that's why they didn't signal the touchdown.
So it'll be 2nd and goal coming up. Clock running. Bears getting a big break on the fumble by Antoine Edwards on the punt, when the Bears were hemmed in. 2nd and goal. And here is Enis, and the 2nd effort, good. Touchdown Bears. He makes it with 19 seconds to go in the 3rd quarter. So the Chicago Bears do score with the wind at their backs, but not in the conventional way.
Well, you don't have to have convention. All you have to have is a big play, and it happened in the special teams. And then you just hand it to your big back and let your offensive line come off. And again, not great push, but great 2nd effort by the running back out of Penn State.
And a 2-point conversion coming up now for the Bears, who are looking to tie the game at 21. That was Enis' 3rd touchdown rushing this year. James Allen, who's in the game for the first time, number 20, along with Edgar Bennett. This is to tie the game. Matthews with the pass, and they don't get it. It was intended for Ingram.
A nice coverage by Leroy Butler and Tyrone Williams.
And the Packers retain the lead, 21-19. They'll be getting the win in about 19 seconds. "19 seconds remaining in the third quarter as Leroy Butler and the rest of the Packer defense foils the Bears' attempt for a two-point conversion."
He just made a great play, Leroy Butler. And how the play was made because of his awareness and reading what was going on in front of him. And they took away the coverage. They tried actually to pick.
Damon Parker and Basil Mitchell. This is Mitchell at the 5-yard line. And the Bears knock him back.
Yeah, let's go back and look at that, Dick, and we're talking about what Leroy Butler did. See, right here, he realized that the coverage is inside for the back. So he looks and has the communication. See, right there, he turned back to Bernardo Harris. Mays is going to try to pick him, thinking that he has the back in coverage. But Leroy Butler read it and jumps this coverage out here and takes that away. And then Tyrone Williams has the coverage outside, and they have to throw the ball away, all because of the awareness and knowing and understanding your coverage.
Packers ball on the 12. 8 seconds remaining in the third quarter. They get the win. And Damon Parker, nothing doing, and time runs out. That is the end of the third quarter with the score. The Packers 21, the Bears 19. Fox NFL Sunday will continue right after these messages. We start the fourth quarter. You be the judge. Is the win factor today? The Bears outscoring the Packers 13-0 when they've had it. The Packers 21-6 when they have had the win, and they've got it now going into the fourth. First down at the 9-yard line. Brett Favre rolling out in the rain and wind, and he's going to run it. And Favre dives to the 22-yard line, close to the first down.
Hey, let's not forget that this whole thing is set up by Jerry Azuma's great special teams play. Remember earlier, he got waxed on a double team. Well, this time, he makes the biggest play of the game so far for these Green Bay Packers, for the Chicago Bears, rather, causing that fumble. And then it's recovered, and of course, they go in on the Enos touchdown.
Brett Favre running for the first down, bringing the ball out to the 23.
Remember, as long as he goes not feet first, when he goes head first, it's where he ends up if he's not touched, which is why they gave him first.
Two tight ends in the game, and Damon Parker trying to go wide, but unable to do it. Ricardo McDonald and company, good pursuit. Well, his linebackers can run a little.
Yeah, they do, but they should turn around and thank Brian Robinson, the defensive end, who really made the play, because he strung the whole thing out and forced him to go sideways. And then McDonald, of course, can make the play. Watch him right down here. Actually, both these guys do a good job. Right here, he gets on Hall, and he just takes care of him. But look at Robinson. He gets rid of the block of Dotson and then forces him outside, and McDonald comes off and makes the play. Well done.
Second down and 11. Favre out of the backfield to Damon Parker. Hit immediately as Barry Minter is there to make the play, bringing up third and long. You know, it seems every time the Packers and Bears play, it is always a tight score and a close game. First game they played this week 9, it was 14-13 in favor of Chicago, trying to sweep Green Bay, but trailing here.
And ended on a Brian Robinson blocked field goal, which preserved the win for the Chicago Bears.
Third down and 9. Favre. And the pass complete to Freeman. First down, Packers.
That was well done by Antonio Freeman, who was working on Jerry Azuma, the converted running back. He got him, jumped inside, just one move. He's going to go down, he's going to get him right there to turn his hips. So once you turn those hips, as a receiver, you're not running your pattern against the full man. You're running them against the hips of the defender. And once you can get them to turn those hips, you cut back the other way, you win.
5 catches for 64 yards for Antonio Freeman. And we have waves of rain sweeping across Soldier Field. Damon Parker. Not only showing the speed, but a little bit of the power as well. And he gets close to midfield and a gain of 14 yards.
That's a tough little run there, because remember they tried to bounce it outside. Well, this time he says, forget it. And he sees this hole and he opens it up back inside. Now watch him finish the run. Very, very well done. Both these rookies have performed pretty well, both Basil Mitchell and Damon Parker.
Talked about the rain. Pam Oliver says it's a sleet now, freezing rain with a lot of wind. Here's the pump fake by Favre. He's not going to get it off. And Jim Flanagan buries him in a huge loss. Back to the 40, a loss of 9.
They were going to try what's called the Texas to the fullback. Henderson underneath. But Ricardo McDonald and Holdman were right there to take it away. See, the back will come out and then come back underneath. Barry Minder's right here and Ricardo McDonald's right there, and they took that short thing away. See, Favre's looking right now, but it's not there. And then Flanagan is able to clean it up.
Bringing up 2nd and 19. Back on the Green Bay 40. Hand off to Parker. Parker with a nifty run before. This time brings it out to the 44-yard line where Clyde Simmons makes the play.
Now, the last time they were in this situation, it was 3rd and about 9. And Azuma was beaten in his man coverage. Now they're 3rd and about 15 or so. So what they'll do is they'll play it in zone, knowing that you're going to have to go at least 15 yards. You'll keep everything in front of you.
But Brett Favre has been uncanny on 3rd downs today, Matt.
Well, they walked up and they're playing with it too deep.
3rd and 15. And there goes the pass to Freeman.
Unbelievable.
Flag is down. Antonio Freeman with the catch, and the yards after the reception gets inside the 25-yard line. Chris Hudson making the tackle at his 33 yards, but a flag is down.
Greg Blasch, the defensive coordinator, went with a man coverage with 2 deep help.
Interference, 27.
Walt Harris, 33 yards, will stand up for Green Bay.
Yeah, this is a roll of the dice. See all these guys up here? That means they're man coverage, and then you have your help. So what you do is you let them run by you, and then you trail them. You trail them, so you let them get on top. Now you trail from underneath. And what beat him was nothing more than the field.
So again, Brett Favre on 3rd down has the magic. 1st down on the 23-yard line, and here's Damon Parker off the left side. And Parker showing some of that speed, gets another first for the Packers to the 12-yard line.
Pretty good job of being able to get to the outside, and pretty nice feet by Damon Parker. That's the old Packer sweep. Lamont Hall did a good job, and then it's just the sweet feet of Damon Parker on a pretty bad field at this point. And when, you know who's a real good mutter? Is Edgar Bennett.
Right, on the other team.
Yeah, Edgar Bennett. And he had lots of plays like this in games like this when he was a Packer.
1st down at the 12 of the Bears. And here is Parker again going outside to the 5. And Parker gets over. Touchdown, Packers.
That was just the speed outside. Again, nothing inside. They bounced it out, and then he was able to use his speed and outrun everybody to the corner. This is designed to go inside, and one of the keys to that is the block on Brian Robinson by Lamont Hall, the tight end.
And that was the first NFL touchdown for rookie Damon Parker out of Oklahoma, and Ryan Longwell with the extra point. It's good, and the Packers now lead by a score of 28-19.
Which, of course, is 2 scores for those hot feet.
Fox NFL Sunday is brought to you by Chevrolet Trucks, the most dependable, longest-lasting trucks on the road. By Wendy's Spicy Chicken. When you're hot, you're hot. By Agilent Technologies, dreams made real. And by 1-800-COLLECT, the easy way to save.
In the sleet of Soldier Field in Chicago, Damon Parker with his first NFL touchdown, a 12-yard run, as the Packers have scored 28 points with the win today. That was an 11-play, 88-yard drive, and Parker did most of the work, including getting the touchdown. And the
those touchdown runs, you never get them without getting a lot of help from your friends. And in that last touchdown, Lamont Hall did a nice job, and Antonio Freeman, the wide receiver, did a great job of blocking the safety.
Here's the kickoff by Ryan Longwell. Milburn on a line drive reception, a yard in the end zone. Milburn trying to give the Bears good field position into the wind, goes out of bounds. And a kickoff return by Milburn. We'll be right back.
On the touchdown of Damon Parker, Lamont Hall right here does a good job of getting on the block and staying with it. The ball's supposed to go to the inside. Now Antonio Freeman, his job is to knock off the safety right there. Does an excellent job, and because of that, you're able to get to the corner. Start in, bounce it outside, then use your speed, and Damon Parker pretty soon is trying to cool off those hot feet.
Remember, the Bears went for the two-point conversion, didn't get it, so now they are 2 scores, as you mentioned, behind. 1st and 10 at the 32-yard line. Shane Matthews handing off to Curtis Enos with a first down run close to the 45-yard line.
Dick, sometimes you can be too smart. That time, Leroy Butler had a feeling exactly where the ball was going to go, and at the last second, he walked up to the line of scrimmage, and he kicked Vaughn Booker out, feeling like it was going to be. Watch it right here, see? He's kicking him outside, and then they see it, and they both jump outside, and it opens up the inside, and he takes advantage of it.
Enos 17 carries for 81 yards and a touchdown today. First down at the 43. Matthews has the pass knocked down by
Bonnie Holiday.
Bonnie Holiday. So that'll bring up second down. Let's take a look at what has been an incredibly close division race all season long in the NFC Central. Detroit, Minnesota, Tampa Bay tied for first. The Packers a game before. The Bears still alive for the playoffs. Now the Lions lead the Redskins 20-17 in their game. Minnesota, Tampa Bay play tomorrow, and a lot of depends on who's home at the end of the season against division teams.
And I think the other thing is who's getting healthy as the season goes on.
2nd and 10, they go to Enos again, nothing doing.
My eyes go right to Leroy Butler. At that time, again, this time he moved Vaughn Booker back down inside, and he jumped outside. And this is all about awareness and understanding. Watch him. See, he sees him. Get back down inside. I'll hold the outside. So he holds outside. See this? And now they take care of it. So you can fool him one time. That's all right. But you're not going to get him the second time. I love to see that out of a player. Great awareness on the field.
And Leroy Butler lining up everywhere.
All over the place.
3rd and 10. Shane Matthews sacked. And that's Bonnie Holiday, who has really played extremely well all year, but particularly the last several weeks. That is the 3rd sack of the game by the Packer defense, and that'll force the Bears to kick.
Yeah, and that one he can turn around and kiss his secondary because they had no place to throw the ball. And he was forced to hold that thing on. And then Bonnie Holiday actually was the second man in because the first guy was Santana Dotson, who collapsed it first.
5th sack of the year for Holiday, and there you see Todd Sauerbrunn with the wind. 55 yards with going into the wind 27, and going into the wind not holding onto the ball, resulting in a Green Bay touchdown. And we have a whistle.
Well, the clock is down to 0.
The ball was delayed in spotting. Please reset the play clock.
To 25. There to go.
Rainy, windy day here in Chicago as the Packers are the game that they feel they need badly, knowing they're going to still have to play Minnesota and Tampa Bay on the road before the end of the year. And there is the kick. The wind knocks it down almost vertically, and it'll be down at the 40-yard lines. 6:45 remaining in the fourth. The Packers lead it.
Dick, remember the old days when you just took a towel and stuffed it in the lineman's pants, and then the quarterback went over there to dry his hands? Well, it's gone high tech. See, now they have the nice dry towel on the inside, and on the outside it's waterproof to keep the towel dry. It's actually smart, but nothing like a good old towel hanging.
They think of everything. Handoff to Damon Parker, was hit behind the line, and Parker, with good second effort, gets it out to the 45-yard line. Well, Wednesday on Fox, music's biggest stars come together for the last awards show of the millennium. Live from the MGM Grand Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas, it's the 1999 Billboard Music Awards, Wednesday at 8, 7 Central on Fox. Scheduled to perform Celine Dion, Ricky Martin, and the Backstreet Boys. Should be quite a show.
That's all I know about that thing.
And we're happy about that.
So am I. So are my kids.
Second down and 5. And here's Parker going outside. Will have the first down. And Damon Parker sliding his way and goes out of bounds. Chased there by Barry Minter. But you're looking at Damon Parker showing some good speed today.
Well, it started off with Basil Mitchell. And then as the game has gone on, they've been able to get to the edge. And they've been able to get to the edge in this sleet and snow with Damon Parker's feet.
Gain of 14 yards for Parker. Remember, Dorsey Levens not playing today because of a cracked rib, and so Damon Parker, who has rushed for 85 yards on 13 carries and a touchdown, and Basil Mitchell have more than filled the bill today. And they go to Parker, and a loss that time of a play with Walt Harris coming in, and the clock continues to run. 5:20 to go in the fourth quarter, and the Bears, who led 10-0 at one point in this game, they won the toss and they took the wind at their back to start, but the Packers with the wind at their back now.
You know, it's funny, I go all the way back to the first quarter when Shane Matthews had Marcus Robinson on the deep in route as a wasted opportunity that really could have defined how this game would have been played.
Yeah, that could have been a big play for the Bears at the time. Second down and 11, and here's William Henderson, who has scored a touchdown today, getting to the 35 of Chicago with Tony Parrish, the strong safety, right there.
You know who's a player that goes unnoticed a lot, but everybody you talk to in the league, is that Frank Winters. Everybody you talk to in the league says the same thing about him. So he'll do whatever it takes to win the game, and you always have a battle on your hands.
Timeout, Bears. Well, this game has gone from rain to sleet to snow, and the wind has been the story because the Packers have had the wind at their backs in the second and fourth quarter. They've scored 28 points. Hardy fans here remain at Soldier Field.
They gotta be. The wind's blowing this way, and the Packers are going that way, and that's where the most offensive output has happened all day long.
Third down and 4, and the first down, Lamont Hall, and the play was blown dead at the 25-yard line, so the backup tight end makes the catch, and another first down for Green Bay.
And did you see Lamont Hall again? And he's had himself a pretty decent day here coming in. They described him, as you said, as a blue-collar, tough guy. And Damon Parker was able to use the block of Lamont Hall to be able to get and cool them feet up because he's been running extremely well.
I thought it was chilly anyway today.
Chilly today, hot tamale.
First down for the Pack. We're really emptying the bucket today, and here's Damon Parker with a gain of about 4 yards on the play as we wind down to 3:45 to go in the fourth.
There's Damon Parker. Got himself an excellent game, as has another rookie up front, and that's Lamont Hall. And you see, after that last catch, Lamont Hall made the catch, got up and ran over to Far, and they gave each other a big hug, because that was the first catch I believe he's had.
That's right.
That's his first career catch, and he got it from Brett Favre, and he was so appreciative he went over and hugged his quarterback.
Well, remember, Jeff Thomason is out with a knee injury, and of course Mark Shimura out for the rest of the season. Second down and 7, and here's Parker with running room. Parker inside the 10-yard line and gets close and scores. Touchdown Packers. And Parker with his second, and he's trying to cool off the feet.
Dick, they have gotten to that edge all second half. They've able to get to the corner, and there's been no force out there. Somebody's either that or there have been good blocks. So we documented it early. This time he's going to get around this end. Oh, and they tried an inside move by Brian Robinson, and Earl Dotson took care of that. Then they got away with a nice hold there, and he was able to outrun the linebacker. Nice cutback move with those hot feet, and he has to cool him off in the end zone.
So Ryan Longwell looking to add the 35th point of the day for the Packers, and he does. So 35 points for the Packers when they had the win at their backs. And for Damon Parker, who did not start today, Basil Mitchell did start, but Parker came in, scoring his first 2 NFL touchdowns.
Well, when you have speed and you can use it to get to the edge, Raleigh McKenzie got away with it. Had himself, they'll call it a nice block with a little bit of a hold. Nice cutback right there, and Hudson got too high, and he took advantage of it and came back underneath. Got into the end zone.
Keep in mind the Packers trying to win today on the road in a divisional game without Dorsey Levens right there. Still have to play road games at Tampa Bay and Minnesota. Minnesota will come up first. That's right.
Especially against that Tampa Bay defense. It's really playing well. I mean, we watched them last week against Seattle. They just whipped them. That'll be a good matchup tomorrow night. That Minnesota Viking offense, Jeff George has not lost since he's been installed as the starter. Chris Carter's been on a tear since he's been back against a defense that doesn't give up big plays.
Parker with 111 yards today. And just a lot of conversation as to what might have been for the Bears. Brian Robinson, you talked about him blocking the field goal to preserve the win the last time. That was eons ago, really. There's the kickoff, and Glenn Milburn will run it out. And Milburn brings it out and goes out of bounds at the 23-yard line.
Return the kickoff from 3 yards deep in his end zone.
Just under 3 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, and time permitting, we'll try to get the viewers of this game to the finish of the game between the Lions and the Redskins at the Silverdome in Pontiac. That's the score right now with 12 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter. The Lions lead 23-17. There's a team that has to go on the road to play divisional games the rest of the way.
They always play well up there in the dome.
First down, and Glenn Milburn, incomplete is the ruling. Second down coming up.
Well, it's clear to me that the Chicago Bears were affected by quarterback play because they had wasted opportunities early, and we'll go back to that again. But when you talk about that, you have to go back and talk about Jim Miller and what happened this week, where he was put down for
anabolic steroids, right?
Yeah, and that affected the team because they're a better team with Miller at quarterback.
There's Curtis Conway, who made a splash early in the game and been quiet since, and gets close to the first down with Jude Waddy making the tackle.
Dick, a few years back, Dave Wannstedt took over this team. They went to the playoffs early, and everybody had high hopes for the Chicago Bears. But watching this team right here under Dick Geron.
That's complete to Milburn. And Milburn running after the catch, getting into Packer territory to the 44.
Yeah, watching this team is a lot further along than Wannstedt's team was that went to the playoffs. They have a lot more people who can make plays, and they're a lot closer to having a legitimate shot with the people they have on this field.
There's no question about it, Matt, because people around Chicago have been longing for the Bears to become competitive again, and I think they feel good about the makings of this team.
Marcus Robinson can make plays. Curtis Conway can make plays. Booker can make plays. Ingram can make plays. Curtis Enos can make plays. The offensive line, they need a couple of pieces there, but they're going to get better. Defensively, they need a pass rusher. They need another safety. They have to have a little bit better corner play. But they have guys who can make some plays offensively, and Cade McNown is clearly the future.
Here is Curtis Enos on the screen, and Enos Diving and has the first down as he gets to the 25-yard line. Edwards and Sharper bring him down. A gain of 19 as we wind down to our 2-minute warning.
When Shane Matthews got hurt, they looked to the sideline for Cade McNown, but guess what? Cade McNown couldn't find his helmet to go in, and he was looking for it up and down the sideline and was yelling at people, and they couldn't find it anywhere. They're looking all over the place for it, and then finally one of the equipment guys found it and handed it to him.
He couldn't get in the game. First down on the 2-minute warning, and the screen pass to Enos, and he's down at the 15-yard line by Jim Nelson.
Remember a few years ago in the Super Bowl, Dick, guy couldn't find his helmet. There they handed it to him. His name was Thurman Thomas. And he couldn't get in the game.
That was a big story of that game.
Now look, they calmed down. You're the guy who put it there.
And the hurry-up offense, and the ball batted down by Vaughn Booker, stopping the clock with 1:29 remaining. I want to remind you again, next week at Fox NFL doubleheader, coverage begins with the pregame show, noon Eastern, 9 Pacific. Carolina Panthers go to Lambeau to place the Packers and the Lions and the Buccaneers in another big NFC Central Division battle. Meanwhile, the news not good for the Packers defense as Keith McKenzie out with a sprained Achilles tendon. Third down and 1, and the pass incomplete and intended for Marcus Robinson.
And you know who's played well today is Leroy Butler. Leroy Butler smelled that quick, and had he had one more step, that ball may have been coming out the other side. Roy Butler's played himself a good game today, as has Keith McKenzie, as you mentioned, and Mike McKenzie, the corner. See, the secondary played pretty well today.
Fourth down and 1 with 1:25. The Bears need 2 touchdowns and 2 two-point conversions to tie. Here's Enos on 4th and 1, and Santana Dotson knocks him back. And the Packers will take over on downs, and
that was really a good play from Santana Dotson from a number of aspects. To take on the block, to stuff the block, to get rid of the blocker, and then make the tackle. There he is right in front of you, working on Olin Kreutz. He stuffs him, gets off of him, and then hits him and takes him backwards. That is an all-pro play.
And they're going to measure now because they look at the spot of the ball, and it looks closer than it was on the initial tackle.
Even with that, Dick, even if it's a first down, that's a great play by Santana Dotson. Oh, and he's short. 1 inch short.
And the Packers do take over.
Well, when you do something good, you know it. And you just feel really good. You know, one guy's got the hot feet, and the other guy is doing his King Cobra impersonation.
Damon Parker with the first 2 touchdowns of his NFL career. And Dick Duran looking on. That was Gary Croton, that is, the offensive coordinator. Dick Duran right in front of him. And for the Bears, looks like no sweep of the pack going into next year. So the Packers with 1:17 to go in the 4th quarter, leading 35-19, and Matt Hasselbeck is coming in quarterback, replacing Brett Favre. We got the job done thanks to the wind, among other things. Here is Damon Parker, and Damon Parker, and that was the other thing.
That was the other things right there. But Dick, to look at this Chicago Bear team, I think Dick Duran has done an excellent job with them, and I think they're well on their way. They've taken some good first steps. Certainly their season's far from over, but it'll probably be the last time I get a chance to watch them, and I've been impressed with what I've seen out of the staff and what they have with their players, because they've clearly developed some guys, and I think you have to take your hat off to Martin Hatley for putting some of these draft picks together.
No question about it, and a lot of people will say, hey, Curtis Enos doesn't have great average yards per carry or no long runs, but I'll tell you what, you want him blocking in case there's a blitz, getting the key runs on short yardage.
And he's still, you know, he's only a year off of a knee. I mean, give this team some time. They're going to be pretty solid.
Second down for the Packers. Matt Hasselbeck handing off to Damon Parker, who is dropped. The Packers scoring a season high 35 points today. And with the rookies in there, they did the job, as Basil Mitchell, 11 carries, 47 yards. Damon Parker, 18 attempts for 115 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Now, Dick, remember, the last time these teams played, it was the Chicago Bears that ran for 160 yards on against these Green Bay Packers.
They used Allen, Milburn, and Enos to get the 160.
And Milburn had himself a big day. And actually, that front that they used, I didn't see the Packers run that at all today. They basically doubled what they've done, more than that.
So coming in, they were tied for 26th with a measly 86-yard average rushing, 191 today. Huge day in the bad weather. And Damon Parker driven back by Tony Parrish. So the Packers, by winning the game, now are in the playoff charm circle, because they will be ahead of the loser of tomorrow night's game between the Vikings and the Buccaneers as far as tiebreaker is concerned. And the record will be 7-5, and they'll be tied with somebody for second place. And Brett Favre, over 3,000 yards passing for the 8th straight year, trailing Dan Marino, who's done it 9 straight. 20 seconds remaining here in this game, and the Green Bay Packers winning in the rain and drawing even with the Chicago Bears and capturing their 3rd in a row. So the Packers will go to 7-5, and they will move into a tie with the loser of the Vikings and Buccaneers, who play tomorrow, as we said. The Lions are leading 23-17 over the Redskins in the 4th quarter, and we hope to get you to the Silverdome for bonus coverage of that game. Bears will drop to 5-8. But remember, last year they won only 4 games.
They're head and shoulders of where they were a year ago. And this Green Bay Packer team is starting to get a little healthier. Antonio Freeman's getting healthy. Brett Favre's thumb is getting healthy. They got a little bit more versatility now in their running game. Damon Parker, Basil Mitchell.
Punting on 4th down is Aguiar. And it is down.
That was a smart play by Crawford. Did you see Crawford?
Yes, he moved. He didn't want
him to touch the ball, so the clock would keep going. That's smart football by Crawford.
And now only 3 seconds left.
McGarrahan was just going to touch it like, okay, it's over. Instead, Crawford said, hey, hold on a second. Let it run. Let the clock go down.
Well, 3 seconds to go to a Packer victory. We want to thank our outstanding production and technical team, led by our producer, Richard Zients, our director, Artie Kempner, and our great crew. The pregame show in Detroit was produced by Scott Ackerson, directed by Bob Levy, studio produced by Nancy Bernstein, and directed by Peter Bleckner. Senior producer, Bill Brown. And as Shane Matthews unleashes this pass incomplete, we'll tell you that the executive producers of Fox Sports are Ed Gorin and David Hill, and time has run out. And that is the end of the game, and the Green Bay Packers have defeated the Chicago Bears for their 3rd straight win. The final score, the Packers 35 and the Bears 19. Well, when we come back, we're going to send you to the Pontiac Silverdome for bonus coverage of the game between the Lions and the Redskins, with the Lions winning 23-17. So for Matt Millen, Pam Oliver, Dick Stockton saying so long.